I take this breath in celebration and honor of each person here with awe and gratitude. Hi, everyone. The title today is Coping with Compassion, and I realized it could be said in two different ways. Coping with compassion, meaning instead of fear, worry, anxiety, or coping with compassion, using it to heal. So today I want to talk about the great awakening that is happening. I want to talk about the grief that's being triggered for many, and I want to talk about the relationship that we have to time. Now, know that grief is a feeling we're probably all having. It's that uncomfortable feeling that we can't quite decide what it is. I read this in a beautiful post the other day. So my name is Reverend Frankie, and I'm with Center for Spiritual Living Morristown, and I have been the spiritual director there for over 27 years. Last week we had Theo Tilton and Gil Belluardo, our licensed practitioners, serving because I was supposed to be on vacation, which became a staycation, and then the staycation became a full-blown spiritual responder, being a minister. And so I invite you today to interact with me. I see you coming in. I'm so happy you're there. And know that this is going to be rebroadcasted, so it's also for those who will be watching later. And click on the little icons. Thumbs up, love, smiley face, angry, sad, whatever else you feel like commenting. Let me know where you are and let me know that you are watching and enjoying it. Ask me questions for later that I can use next time, and also tag someone. So I want to now start talking to you about coping with compassion. Right now, we are in a great awakening, capital G, capital A. And we are being called to wake up. We either wake up and go right back to sleep, or we're going to stay asleep, or we're going to wake up. And what happens, as you can tell, right now is happening all over our planet. How interesting is that? There is this call of completely doing life differently. There has to be, in our teaching, a metaphysical meaning. There has to be a significance that we can milk and absolutely step into. And so you may notice that a lot of people are experiencing grief. That feeling of discomfort, that antsiness, that wanting to run and hoard and eat and whatever it is that distracts you. That's called suffering. That's grief. Grief and suffering are intricately connected. And it shows up in so many different ways. And so I think that in the West, we don't grieve well. We don't grieve in very healthy ways. We tend to cover it up. We tend to hide. We tend to cover it up with other habits. And so we have an opportunity to grieve in a more healthy way, which I will talk about in a minute. So for me, it's been quite a swing. I felt like I was on a swing, and it was also twisting, and it took me a good solid week to 10 days to come to the center, to feel centered, to feel balanced. And I did this with my spiritual practices, which I upped, and I did this with really good self-care, making sure I slept enough, that I turned off media and social media, and that I found myself just dwelling in gratitude, because I know I have so much to be grateful for. I read this poem this week, which I've been carrying around. It's called The Peace of Wild Things. It's old, so many of you might be familiar with it. Wendell Berry wrote this. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting for their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. Take a breath with that one. There is within you a freedom. If you don't feel that freedom, there is within you something that is calling you to that inherent freedom that was your birthright. And so what's in the way then is our suffering, our sense of separation from spirit, our own grief. And from my own experience, I have learned that on the other side of grief, when we go through it, there is healing, there is power, there is blessing, and there are exquisite gifts. I know this. And so what's asked of us when we experience suffering and grief is that we are present, that we don't run, that we simply stay present in what we are feeling. You may notice that when you're present in a feeling, that it doesn't stay there forever. That's our fear, that once we start crying, we will never stop. But once we have a good cry, it ends and we do something else. So allow yourself to be fully in the present moment, because actually that's all you have, is this present moment. There really isn't anything else. So you might as well feel what you feel. And then practice moving into acceptance. The key to healing from grief is accepting what is. Accepting what you're experiencing in the moment. Accepting that we're all more fragile and vulnerable than we think. And that we must feel that, because it leads to becoming stronger, becoming wiser, having more experience in life. And that's one thing that can truly assist us to be present with others. The next thing that I find happening in grief is you can't hide. You just cannot hide. Have you ever tried to hide your tears? Have you ever tried? It's ugly. My cry when I hide it or try to hide it it's ugly. And so I have discovered that it is in grief that I am the most real, the most authentic. And that's been my experience also with others. That when I'm with those who are grieving, they're not hiding. They're just who they are. And they're so incredibly beautiful and delicious in a spiritual, soulful way. So it's something that makes us more real. Just think the Velveteen Rabbit. So then we move into finding meaning. I think about Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, when he was in the concentration camp and how he discovered meaning in his suffering. And so when we find meaning, that's when we grow. When we find meaning, that's when we evolve. That's when we add to our toolbox. And the next thing that happens is we move into gratitude. The reason why we grieve is because we love. I know that if there's somebody who dies or passes on, there's a transition, whatever we call it, that I don't know or don't care for, I don't grieve in the same way. If I do grieve, it's usually because my grief of my loss of loved ones is getting triggered. But grief is because we love. And love is powerful and is healing. So I invite you to sort of think of this time as a sabbatical. I know that that's not true for everyone. I know many are busier than ever and are working from home and are suffering and are on the front lines. But we can all think of the time and the space that we have as a sabbatical or a semi-sabbatical or a mini sabbatical. Because we truly, in this great awakening, need to discover that time is sacred. That time is a gift and a blessing, and that once a moment passes, it can never return. So we are being called to be in the present moment and to establish a new and different time, with a different relationship with time, a new and different relationship with time. And I've been saying this for a long time, but I think we must transform our idea of being busy. We use that word unconsciously and carelessly. It's another way to hide. It's another way to stay asleep. We must think of time as sacred, our time as sacred, and use it wisely. So I invite you to transform your busy. And so really what we're being asked to do is to bring more simplicity back, to bring more simplicity into our lives, to bring more simplicity in every task, in everything we're doing, in everything we have. And you and I already know what that is. So the Great Awakening, here we are. The Great Awakening is right here. What do? We're called to rise up. We're called to bring our best self. We're called to step up. We're called to bring something new to life through us. We have all, in our own ways, studied, practiced, learned, read books, watched videos, listened to podcasts with really great information. And I know there's room for more of it to be lived. So pick one little thing and embody it. I always say, take the Science of Mind textbook or any spiritual text you love with your eyes closed, open it up, point the finger, then embody that. Live that. Practice that. We call ourselves spiritual. Are we? Really? If we really are, then this Great Awakening is calling us to practice and live all that we've learned, and to live it in an authentic way, because each of us has to live it in a different way. There cannot be two people who live it in the same way. And so I believe we are made for this. We are made for this time in history, and we can be the ones that shift the consciousness. This is our time. This is our time to prove these teachings, this Science of Mind teaching. This is our time to rise up and to be the best we can be. And so I have another thing I want to share. I am doing this book this year. It's called 52 Codes for Conscious Evolution by Barbara Marx Hubbard. And I do one every week. And this week, oh my goodness, it's so great. It says this: in your mother's womb, you have experienced the evolutionary story, starting with your life as a single cell to a zygote, a little multicellular animal, a fish, a mammal, an early human, and then a newborn human, coded with the potential for your own growth. Don't you love that? So now you can remember your larger 14 billion year birth narrative, cosmogenius. And then at the bottom she says, when your universal self is revealed to you, you are guided far beyond your personal purpose to take your part with cosmogenesis, This is the primary purpose of every incarnation now. This is the great fulfillment and reward that evolutionary codes unlock within you. So that's what I have to say today. I love this. This is fun. I want to say a couple things and then I'll do a brief closing treatment. I want you to know that you are being called to share your wisdom with another, to really go deeper. It's such a beautiful, pregnant opportunity. So if you know anyone that wants to know about this teaching, share with them. Check out our website, www.cslmorristown.org. And if you feel moved to give and support us, we truly welcome that. Just go to our website and on the top right, there's a yellow give button. Or just send us a check. We'll take it. We have all kinds of events on Zoom, and so if you want to be on our mailing list, let us know via the website or email us at office@cslmorristown.org, or check us out on YouTube. We're going to be updating that and probably put this video on there. And at 11 o'clock, we have a social hour via Zoom. Thank you, Lori Carlson. It's in this stream. I noticed that she posted it. I am so glad you're all there and that you're all watching and that you're sharing, and I love your hearts and your thumbs up and all those. So thank you so much. And I want to close with a healing prayer, a spiritual mind treatment, and hope to see you next week. Know you are loved, you are safe, you are in the arms of the beloved, you have everything you need. Be grateful. So right here, right now, I know without any doubt that there's a power and a presence that is greater than I am. It is all giving, all knowing, all loving, everywhere present, in everyone, everything, everywhere. I am so grateful for all these beautiful souls that are in service to the greater community, working so hard every day to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep us fed. And I know that each of us who are staying at home are holding the high watch and share our healing love and energy with the world. And I know that we are turning within, going to the source of all life, to call upon it in ways that makes it easier for us to cope with compassion, to move through life with more grace, more faith, more love, more ease, and more peace. Now we become instruments for the divine in the world, whether it's quietly or out loud. I am so grateful for this beautiful teaching and this beautiful spiritual community that lifts me up every single day and allows me to rise up in only the way I can and must. I am ready and willing to be awake and stay awake. So with awe and gratitude, I let go and I let the universal law demonstrate this truth for me and everyone that's a part of this Facebook streaming live and the rebroadcast. And so it is. Everybody. And so it is.